local recording.
That's pretty cool.
Thanks.
That was Siri.
And
You guys have
I'll save the file and send it to you.
Do you guys have a virtual agent for your airport service portal? Do you have a cool nickname for it, like Airporty or something?
Airporty.
I like the way you think.
Airport face, airport face.
Well,
Well, we're going to now.
we call everything Sky something, like that train is called.
Skynet got shut
Sky
down.
Connect.
Skynet.
Our building is called Sky Center, it has
You
to
guys
be
are
Sky
really
related.
forward.
Yes.
We asked for it.
That's our moniker, Sky, that's Skynet. I'm sorry, go ahead, Chuck.
Except Sky Harbor.
Yes,
That'd be the Phoenix Airport.
that would be, yes, exactly.
All right. Did anybody catch last week's Tech Now session live? Besides Dale? Okay, so these two did. Just wanted to make sure that I wasn't talking to a room full of repeats here. This is going to be a lot of the same stuff, but you get to ask the questions interactively as they come up. And please, anybody on the Zoom, if you've got questions, feel free to throw them out there. This is not a comprehensive look at everything that's new in Rome. It's focused on the platform features. We will have other sessions about ITBM and ITSM and CSM and a whole bunch of other letter acronyms in September when general availability comes along. That's all part of the whole launch process. I lobbied hard. And they gave me crap about this because they said, you can't talk about Rome. We haven't released it yet. I said, early access, developers have it. I got to tell the developers what's out. So we were able to back this one up ahead of that. So that happened about a year and a half ago. So safe harbor, blah, blah, blah. Maybe future looking things that don't make it into general availability. Please don't base your purchasing decisions. And if you have trouble sleeping at night, read this document. There you go. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior Developer Advocate. I'm gonna have to change that to close to 40 years of experience next year. Actually, I think it is 40 years next year. Been around for a while. I mean, that's when I started laying hands on computers and banging out programs in BASIC and Fortran. So old timer, not quite vacuum tubes, but I do have punch cards in my laptop bag if anybody wants to see them. Mentioned with ServiceNow since fall of 2008, I think was the release we were on. Might have been summer when we were training. It used to be 3 times a year, whether it needed it or not. And they were named after seasons. Anybody remember that? It was like
For the legend.
fall, summer, and winter or spring. I forget which season they skipped. And then they realized, oh, we have customers in Australia. That's not going to work because they're going to say, why is summer coming out in June? That's our winter. So then for a release or two, they went to this June 2011. Like, well, that was better. And then somebody got creative and did the whole Aspen, Berlin, Calgary. If you know it, sing along. Doubling your reach, right. Okay, so we get up to Rome. Anybody know what's after Rome? San Diego. What's after San Diego?
Tokyo.
What's after Tokyo? Oh, you've heard this story.
I've already arranged.
I'm not taking any credit from you, Reese. What did you hear?
I heard it was a state instead of a city.
Well, there technically are 3 cities in the US named after that. In like Tennessee, Arkansas, and Illinois.
How about we give them a hint? 4 letters.
Utah?
Yeah, Utah. We're gonna catch crap on that already.
Yeah.
I don't know. Above my pay grade. But maybe they'll change I mean, somebody's got to be creating battle plans around this and making repo branches and.
I had a good theory about it. Well, it's a global brand, so it has to be relatable, easy to spell, and easy to say. And there's not that many words that start with U. Like you could have called it Ukraine, but
Utopia.
No, Ukraine's a country.
Ukraine, Uganda.
Utrecht,
City.
right.
Yeah.
That's not that hard to
What
spell.
is it?
Utrecht. People can barely spell Quebec. Let alone say it. Utrecht got more recognition than Utah, India. I'm
As
sorry.
someone that
I-
lived and came from Utah, I can say that's a bad choice.
I
like Utah. Talk to them, say that you know someone from Utah, they recommend not doing that.
Yeah.
They will probably have to license it or something. All right, Let's start out with App Engine, since that is a new feature. App Engine was released with the Quebec release. It's you can build apps without App Engine, but App Engine enables you to do more, especially when it gets into citizen development, extending that in your organization. And App Engine Studio is really that piece that makes that easy. It's the low code, no code way of building your tables and UI and flows, and it's all integrated into one package. Well, App Engine Studio came out as a store release, separate from Quebec, but it's built on Quebec. And in Rome, we're enhancing it with two features that everybody raised their hands and said, please, please, please put in collaboration and control or governance. Those were the two big I must-haves. So in the September release, I think it is, we're going to be releasing those built on Rome. So again, you don't need App Engine to build it. We still have Dev Studio, you can do all your tables and flows, but this really brings them into one place with templates. I haven't heard, Dale, have you heard more about templates coming out?
It is, so we have the slide up. Yeah, it is probably in a future release very soon, eventually. But for now.
Wow.
The templating technology, ServiceNow is still using to build the templates, but the plan is to, once that's mature enough, let everybody make their own.
Right. We do want customers and partners to build out templates that get into a library. I was wondering if there are any more templates coming out with this next release.
Oh, that I don't know. That's about my figure too.
If anybody's curious, I can go find out. We also tie in source control. I know you're like, people thinking, why would a citizen developer need source control? But we got to have the ability to say, hey, I'm done with this release, or I want to save my work up to the repo. Please hook me up and save it into the cloud. So we do integrate with Git repositories, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, that sort of thing, so that you can have that version management and mobile app builder. Has anybody built a mobile app yet? In Dev Studio? How fun is that?
Oh, it's so fun.
He says sarcastically. Now, it is doable, but there's a lot of complexity behind there. And frankly, my head starts to explode when I think about, data items and action functions, and how do these pieces fit together? You need this sort of stacked diagram, which nobody's ever drawn for me yet. But the mobile app builder really brings that designer, builder, studio feel to this, so that you can do things much like UI builder. You don't have to know about components and containers. You just drag your stuff around, click it, configure it. So it makes that a lot easier. That is also coming out as a store release. According to this slide, it's September-ish, or at least the speaker notes that were on there at one point said September-ish. So very, very much looking forward to that, demonstrating that and showing what that can do. So I know a lot of people don't know about mobile apps, but there's a lot of interest in building a mobile strategy, particularly in the employee self-service stuff. We use this all the time. There's a couple of mobile apps, one generated more for the employee experience, one more for the fulfiller experience. You download the apps from the appropriate iOS or Android store, put them on your mobile app, and this builds out what I call templates or models. So you specify, I want to see this list when I click this icon and drill into this record, and when I press this button. All of that is metadata on the instance that gets sent to the mobile app, and it then generates it. So you're not creating a unique mobile iOS or Android application and loading those up. You're building these applets around the framework that we've already taken care of. And that gives you the advantage of camera, geolocation, all those mobile things that are frankly ugly to do in a browser interface.
Yeah.
So very easy, very quick, but can be better. So we're looking at doing that as well.
Do they allow you to customize the icon yet?
Yes.
Yeah, branding is available.
It's called mobile branding.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot to mention that mobile app builder will be available as a separate app, much like kind of like Flow Designer, and it will be integrated with App Engine Studio.
Same way that Flow Designer shows up as a tab inside of AES, and your tables show up as a tab inside of AES. This will show up as a tab as well. One of those rows that says data, experience, blah, blah, blah. If you've seen a demonstration of AES, App Engine Studio, you'll see that there. However, you want that integration, you need App Engine Studio, which obviously needs an App Engine license. So it's not exclusive to App Engine Studio, but to get that integration, you need App Engine Studio. So there's sort of that dependency, sort of. Web UX, anybody dealing with UI Builder or workspaces yet?
Come over here, play with it.
You get a fist bump behind you too. So there's some new things in here, real quick rerun or replay back up to what, about 4 releases ago or so. We introduced this new experience called workspaces. And what we discovered, everybody started going, why do we need, didn't we just come out with Service Portal? You know, why do we need yet another UI, UX going on? It's fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me kind of thing. We had, our original framework was all built around Jelly. Anybody programmed Jelly? UI macros, UI pages.
So fun.
I love Jelly, said no one ever.
Hours
Okay.
spent counting.
Right. Well, Jelly came out from the Apache Foundation. They eventually went, nah, we're not going to do that anymore. And we went, oh, well, okay. What's out there? Google came out with this thing called AngularJS. Great. And there was about a revision every week. You know, as soon as we released Service Portal, people were saying, are you going to support Angular too? And they weren't exactly upgrade compatible. You'd have to rebuild all your pages and widgets. Oh my God. And then Google abandoned Angular. So let's build something that won't be abandoned. So we created our own framework. Underneath, I think it's React, but I can't be certain, and I frankly don't care. You build web components, I mean, you have the option to build custom web components, but we have a library of what now, 400 of them, something like that, buttons and lists, and you configure those. So you really drag them in UI Builder, bring them over here, say, this list is made up of this data, go, and you've got your list. Similar to what Service Portal widgets would do, but a lot more controllable, I'll say, because if you want an event tied to a button, I know it won't get too deep into it. Well, the first few iterations of this were targeted for agents. You probably heard agent workspace. Okay. Then CSM came along and said, not quite there yet. We need to make them more configurable. So we changed the data model a little bit and said, there, we've got UI Builder, we've got configurable workspaces. These came out in Quebec. They're available beyond. We include them in our Rome deck. They're not exactly new to Rome, but there are some new enhancements to Rome that people have been asking for. Mainly theming, configurability, and process automation. What does that mean? Viewports are available. So if you're a real hardcore UI person, you go, yay. If you're the rest of us, you go, I guess.
That's another buzzword.
Yeah, people ask for viewports, so we found a way to put viewports in there. The UI Builder, which is that thing you use to configure these things, now has a native condition builder. Prior to this, we're using the traditional condition builder that you see on all the standard lists and frames and reports in an iframe. But by having its own native condition builder, you can dig deep into the power of what UI Builder does well. And that's use things like at context, at state, at a lot of these variables that are built into it. You now take advantage of those, so you can hook them into things like, instead of saying active equals true, you can say active equals at state dot client state parameter, which is kind of like a scratch pad variable. So you can be storing things and putting them here and there and get a lot more power out of it, is really what it comes down to. So a lot of UI Builder people will rejoice in this. I'm not sure who's, sorry, I'm getting a lot of buzzes on the watch. Let me put that into do not disturb. I have a large family, and when they start chatting on text messages, yeah, it's a good time. especially when you're trying to get work done. Okay, delegated development, anybody doing any of that? So delegated development is available in Studio, or Dev Studios, some people call it. And it allows you to delegate some of the development to other people, make a team, if you will, without giving them full admin access. You could say, I want Terry to be my reporting person on this app, but that's all she gets to do. No ACLs, no tables, no, just build reports, Terry, go nuts. Or flow designer, or, and you can turn these switches on and off. You can see a few of them back there in the background. Well, we've added UI builder to this. So now we can delegate some of that. We'll see a couple more delegated developer things coming up. If she were to work on an app that has a UI builder, a workspace page in it, and she wanted to go into the UI builder, you could go in, but don't, of course. Doesn't stop you from looking.
Question.
Yes.
Question, so just out of curiosity, is that something that came just internally from ServiceNow developers, or was that something from feedback?
The whole delegated developer
Yeah.
thing, that's been in Studio,
Like 5 or 6 releases.
yeah, almost since the beginning, I think,
Really?
which was neat. Because part of the reason we came out with scope apps and engineers is, who said Fuji?
I say that's.
You
I said
you
Fuji.
You said Fuji. So Fuji was the great, I'm not sure what I can say safely here. The great change in the way that we developed. Prior to Fuji, there was only global apps. Incident problem change. Everything was in a global
In the
space.
beginning,
I could
there
write
was
a
global.
I could write a business rule that would delete records out of his table. There was like no protection between these apps. So we came up with scopes for 2 reasons in Fuji. One was to support the store, so that I could write an application as a partner, put it on the store, and somebody could be confident that the properties, the table names, they won't interfere with anything that's already on my system. It's not you underscore customer. How many you underscore request tables do I have? It would have a full scope name to that partner, to that, whatever it is. Properties, script includes the whole thing, has scopes, and you can protect against that. Say, nobody writes to my table except my app. Nobody reads from my table except my app. So there was protection, and along with that came things like delegated development. So we said, all right, we're going to be able to make teams. It was sort of a first step into citizen developers. The theming variable support, you can now put CSS on elements. A lot of people have been asking for this because they'll do the UI builder thing and go, well, that looks pretty generic. Can I put some life into it? Yes, you can on elements. But in order to style a component, it still goes through the theming piece of it. So there's a slight differentiator in there. Haven't touched it and worked it out. I'm leaving that to Brad. He's our UI builder guy. And he's going to show me, this is what I can do and this is what I can't do. We'll probably have that on a live coding happy hour. Another 2 weeks. I'm trying to remember when UI week is. This is flow week. I think next week is ATF week. So we have themes as we go from early availability to general availability. So stay tuned. I can look it up on the program if you like.
So Chuck, is that CSS just for the workspaces? Like,
Yes,
Once
this is,
for-
all of this is around workspace.
or also like agent workspace, can I do the same?
As long as agent workspaces are the configurable workspaces, typically found in CSM or anything you build in AES is a configurable workspace. If it's one of the legacy agent workspaces from ITSM, probably not. Okay. All right. Playbook, anybody know what Playbook or Process Automation Designer? These were introduced in Paris a year ago. Process Automation Designer really gives your process people, the low code people, the no code people, the ability to build a flow. It's built on top of Flow Designer. So you can kick off flows, create tasks. Now we have a way, and I'm sorry, those flows built in Process Automation Designer are really called playbooks. Well, they're presented through Playbook on the workspace, on the agent workspace, on the configurable workspace
through the playbook, and you can really, remember anybody use the old workflow where you can see what stage it's in?
Ooh, the process formatter.
Well, that's another way of seeing it. Yeah, where is my pizza? We order from Domino's. It's been ordered, it's in the oven, it's on its way. This is a representation of that, but each one of these can drill into more detailed things. And you put the flows together in Process Automation Designer. I should stop calling them flows, I should call them playbooks. You put those together in a Kanban kind of style thing. So you have lanes, up and down lanes, and you have cards or tasks that go along with those. Well, we've extended that to give you, the first one is a record generator. I don't know, I may be underestimating what the fuss about this was, because I'm not a
I'm so excited
playbook
about
person. But the text I got says, it allows agents to create or input values to the record before they generate the record. I thought, well, isn't that what a form is for? Those forms are on the screen and you fill them out, and you hit submit. So I may not be realizing the full impact of this one yet.
I'm really excited about it.
The record generator, or
Yeah.
playbook in general.
Oh, well, if Sam, a CSM agent, and I get presented with a form, it has 20 fields on it, that might seem easy to the developer, like, no big deal. But to someone who's, might have a different situation, they can quickly choose a different option, like there's this interaction type, but they could say what kind of call type it is, and then get a guided way to sort of guide the person as they're creating the record. Whereas if it's just the form, they have to remember the process and maybe go to different places on the form. I've been wanting this one for a while because it's just an easy way to guide them to the record creation instead of saying, well, here's a form, good luck. Or your other option is go fill out a record producer for the person that's filling it out. And then you have to design the record producer. So I think this one will, by the time we get to the next couple of releases, this one's gonna look even cooler. I'm excited about it.
We do have Yaron Gez coming on, I believe it's Live Coding Happy Hour this Thursday. Because I'm out today for you guys, and Brad is out Thursday for Minneapolis. So he did Creator Toolbox this morning. I'm doing Live Coding Happy Hour, and I'm pretty sure I've got Yaron, who's the product manager for Playbook. So we'll dig more into this on Thursday. No, this is.
Today's
I got
Tuesday.
it. Yeah, I know, never mind. Actually, I think I've got, Brian Bimschlager and another guy on Thursday. We're gonna break our integration. Oh, that's it, we're doing, flow error handling, which I'll get to in a second. Okay, playbook preview, as you're building those playbooks in Process Automation Designer, pretty simple, straightforward thing. You can hit a preview button and see how it's going to work before you actually have to publish it and make it work. So much easier testing and running. I like that one.
Oh, this one too.
Yes, Dale's our cheering squad. All right, tell me, Dale, what do you like about the
These have all been on my wish list for a long time, or my complaint list, depending on how you look at it. What about this one? Oh, this is a new look for the playbooks in the workspace. So instead of having just the one vertical view, you have this different stack view. Is that what it is?
Yeah, from what I heard, this allows the agents to stay more focused on one thing at a time.
Yeah, because if you see the top box, if you put too many activities in the stage, which is really the lane in the process, you end up seeing 3 or 4 of them. And sometimes you don't want them to see what's next because it'll say like waiting for the previous activity. And so then they're reading the next 5 boxes saying, do I need to work on that or not? But in that second focused view, you can see it's focused on exactly the one thing they need to do, no distractions. So that's pretty helpful. I'm sure some customers were like, can you make the window bigger? And we were like, we'll make a story for that.
Worker time is that for, like incident or request, or what is that?
Any one that you want, any type of record. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So generally, if you have several stages, you can also hand that off to different users as part of the process. You could even have one of these cards be the approver's card, and they go in there and look at the card and click
Yeah.
approve. That way, every person that looks at the record has a
Sees
single
their
view
piece.
of what's going on.
Yeah.
And to make it even more complicated or fun, I don't know how you see it, you can have multiple playbooks and processes as part of the one record firing at the same time.
Similar to how you could have multiple business rules firing at one,
Yeah, yeah.
multiple flows or something like that. Somebody just came in.
Yes, hi.
Oh, hey.
Give us your 30-second elevator pitch.
My name is Milan. I'm currently in a boot camp learning about ServiceNow admin and developer. So I saw on the website and decided to come out.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Woo. Fire any questions. Nothing is too beginner or hopefully not too advanced. We can always make up something for you.
Who's sponsoring you on the boot camp?
It's called My Tech Best Friend. It's
Oh.
a new company. So, yeah.
Well, it's a great path for a career, this ServiceNow stuff. Like, people have been here for years, and I can tell you it's worth it.
Yeah.
Good.
I think we're all gonna give you the same answer here.
And buy stock, buy stock.
Help yourself to the refreshments. We've got some stickers on the table over here if you want. One of them might look familiar, so they say. All right, now for the development and configuration tools. The reason most of us have a job, right? Developing or configuring on the system somewhere in some shape or form. What's new in Rome? Well, we have done three things mainly. We've now got source control availability for the final leg of the stool. Okay. We originally had source control for your built apps, so the scoped apps that you build out of Studio. Those have been going into source control pretty much since day one. Then everybody said, when is global coming? When is global? When can I use source control at Studio and global? That was Orlando, if I remember right, or maybe it was Paris. Then we had the plugins. I can't remember what was in Quebec, but finally we have the ability to put source control on those scoped plugins like CSM and HR. So you can manage those in Studio and you can commit your changes and you can promote your changes and do all the good solid Studio version control stuff that you do in Studio and source control. So now there should be no more reason for update sets. Trust me. So that's a big yay in my opinion. The other one is ATF. We now have headless browser testing. So if you're familiar with automated test framework, you build up a test that you can click one button and say run, and it will go run a test or test suite over and over and over again. Great for reducing your upgrade cycle. Of course, you have to build the tests, and the building usually goes in line with the development. If you're a good developer, you're building a feature and you're building a test to test that feature. And you run the test before the upgrade to make sure that when you run it after the upgrade, it not only still runs, but that the upgrade didn't break it where it wasn't broken before the upgrade. Because if you just test after an upgrade, go run, it failed the test. You don't know if it was already broken or whatever. So you can also run those at any time. It's sort of the Christmas gift that keeps on giving, because you can run it anytime you do a release for that app or change. Run the test. You get to your upgrade, run the test. Just keep running those tests. Well, first thing we heard was there's tests for the server code and there's tests for the browser stuff. And in the browser, it's great when you're sitting at your desk and you go run the test and it says, I want to start a client runner. So it opens up a new tab and does its thing over here and does its thing over here. But if you're trying to schedule these in the middle of the night and nobody's around, where's the person that's going to go, yes, run on the client runner? So by using Docker, we can now fire up a VM, I guess. I'm not a Docker expert yet, but this allows you to fire up a Docker session, run that client test runner, and return those results. So you can do unattended tests on your ATM tests.
Okay, we have to have Docker configured and built up. It's not.
It doesn't come from the
Oh,
user. So
yeah.
you would fire up a VM with Linux on it and then get the Docker session. There are documented instructions on the doc site, and last week's live coding happy hour was with the product manager. Thank God he was there.
Is that the one where there was a command line on the screen?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one.
so-
Yeah. Good questions from the audience too.
So Chuck, on the headless browser, it's running automated and the testing.
Yep.
And the Docker, so you configure the platforms or the browsers you want to run the test on, and they run simultaneously in that without any intervention, Chrome and Edge and so forth.
Yes.
Okay. You just tell it which browsers you want to use.
Yeah. And it goes out and says, do I have one of those available somewhere? Okay. But everything else you do in ETF is exactly the same. There's no real change about, oh, I have to configure this to run on a headless browser. It just make it so. The third thing we did is really actually old news. If you've been paying attention to what came out in Quebec and what sessions we were doing, we have a command line interface. That's an odd thing for a web service company to have. But it helps you automate. If you are doing something from, say, a cron job on a Linux server and you need to inject or call a scripted REST API on the system, you can do that. You don't have to make this convoluted curl command. You can have a CLI do that, and it's extensible. So I don't know if anybody's aware that I made a ServiceNow karaoke app. It goes on catalogs YouTube. I've got over 40,000 active songs in there. Put together a nice service portal. So you can have a party, you can go sing solo, maybe we'll take a look at it later. But it has a lot of scripted REST APIs being called from the browser side, from the client scripts. And one of them is pick me a random out of my favorites list. And I created a command line interface that says SNC karaoke favorite random. And it knows exactly which API and what parameters to set. You can make it interactive. So if somebody just says SNC CLI karaoke, it'll be great. What subcommand you want? Here's 3, that one. Okay, that needs 2 more parameters. Fill this. So you could make this interactive, or you could make it, -C, here's a customer name, -U, here's the ID. However you want to set that up, it's fully extensible. Does the basic CRUD operations as well. So if you want to interact with the table API that's already built into the system, you can do that. So it gives us more of that reach into, perhaps somebody's doing a shell script or something. You can set this up. It also is the same CLI. It used to be 2 of them, but now there's 1 to build those web components for the workspaces. So if you're a real hardcore developer and you want to build out custom web components, maybe you need a thermometer gauge for your workspace, you can do that. Told you we'd get back to studio and delegated development. This apparently gives Abraham Lincoln the ability to use source control. I don't think he'll be using that anytime soon. But you get the idea. Another switch you can turn on and off, and its next door neighbor, just to the left of that, is the ability to give your delegated developers delete access, which sounds like I'm not sure I want to delegate that to anyone. Yeah,
Does it actually delete the app?
use that with caution.
Does it delete it from if they publish it to the app repo, do you think it deletes it from there too? or
Yes, it does, I'm told.
it does?
I haven't had a chance to test it, but I asked that specifically.
Interesting.
They said yes. So, it may be that you've got a citizen developer out there that goes, oh, I screwed up. I need to restart. I've done this a few times. You're right. You make a scoped app, you go, okay, go up to sys under app.list, delete it, cross your fingers and hope. And I don't think that does it from the app repo. So this might be a better way to do that. You can also now add a workspace from within Studio. Previously, this was only available in AES. You go, well, what about us customers that didn't buy the App Engine license and we still want to build a workspace? there was this convoluted way, if you do the right secret underlying tables, you could do it. This puts it in your hands. So once you build the workspace here, you can then go to UI Builder and figure the heck out of it. So yay. Questions about any of that stuff? I know we've been taking them. Anybody on the Zoom still out there that has any questions? Feel free to jump in.
No question, still here.
Yay! I didn't fall asleep or the kids dragged him away. So workflows and integrations. Two of my favorite topics. I like automating things and I like automating things that interact with other things. That's kind of been my career for, well, pretty much since I started in computers. I like things that talk to other things. I used to run an electronic bulletin board once upon a time. Yeah, old guy. The big thing in Flow Designer that will be covered on Thursday is error handling. Anybody have a flow that just died in the middle and you're like, what? And you have to go look for the execution details and go, why did that happen? This allows you to catch that error. If you're doing JavaScript, think of the try catch thing, kind of like that. You can define what exactly is an error, what you want to ignore, and how you want to handle it. Very configurable way to do this. I am so looking forward to diving into this with both feet on Thursday because I haven't used it yet, but I've seen some pretty awesome demos and I've experienced firsthand, a REST API integration. You can put this on actions, subflows, and flows. So, my action would go out and it would say, hey, go make this REST call. And it would come back with a 200 saying, yep, everything worked. But that's not the payload I asked for because my credentials expired, or whatever it is. So now you got to go digging around. This happens every 90 days on our YouTube account for the developer program. For whatever reason, I say, go upload this thumbnail, and the thumbnail never shows up. What happened? Oh, that's right. It's the beginning of July. Why didn't I remember this? Our OAuth authentication expired. But there's no indication of what's going on. So given this, we can, perhaps trigger a notification that says your flow died, your authentication failed. You can determine what's an error and how you want to track it. And Thursday, I'll find out if anything I just said in the last 2 minutes is BS.
Are you gonna record Thursday?
Yes,
So I can go on.
live coding happy hour on the developer
Oh,
channel.
I have
Yep.
bikes and brews on Thursday, so I can't.
Pikes and Bridge.
It will be starting at 5:30 Eastern time,
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna
but it will be
We'll
available,
watch it.
of course, immediately afterwards.
Chuck, can I ask a sidebar question?
Yes.
Just because my director asked me. Does ServiceNow have the capability, I'm sure it does, but where? The capability to be like a license manager, managing those kinds of expiry dates on.
Would anybody else like to chime in on?
And it's probably an elementary question. but
What kind of passwords?
Licenses.
License.
Well, license
License.
expiry.
So are you talking the credential
certificate.
manager, certificate manager? Yes.
Like
That's all-
SSL certificate?
That's all part of ITOM.
Oh, okay.
The answer is always either yes or
Oh, it's
you can
always
build
yes,
it.
or you can. I know that's
Are you-
that's why I said yes.
Well, there's also
Actually, it was
the
yes.
software asset
The software.
Too.
estimate.
I would definitely go that route before you build it.
Yeah, don't build it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But the discovery tool actually will discover certificates out there in your environment now.
It does.
It does,
Oh, when did that come along?
That was
A couple releases ago.
Yeah, so if you've got a certificate out there and you run discovery against that, it'll log that certificate in there and then it'll help you track that.
It knows about it and where it is, but it doesn't suck in the certificate. does it?
No, I don't think it.
Creates a record, essentially a CI.
Oh,
CI,
yeah,
it creates a
yeah.
CI of that certificate.
There's an icon V2, there's the management thing that help you control renewals on your certs.
That's how long it's been since I've done any other time. I didn't even know that, or there was.
Wait,
an
what
account
helps?
V2.
I missed that part. What helps renew, track the renewals?
ITOM V2 has a certificate management portion, which we already built before that, so
Yeah.
Hey.
Move it.
It happens.
But now you could not be responsible.
But now your
for it.
certificate.
Exactly.
That's the best part.
Yeah. Here you go.
And
It does what it does.
So now your certificate.
You're
will be
releasing an
in
app for you to
use
use for
CI,
marketing team.
And you can manage twice a week as a CI.
Never. It
That was
doesn't even have any
actual
glow on
answer
it.
from
This is a
someone
table.
Yeah, I was
I guess
talking about it was zero, plus knowledge. Thank you.
Back to the live coding happy hour, if you do miss it, the good thing about it is watching it on YouTube at 2x. And getting Chuck and all the guys talking a lot faster, information just faster.
I have to pause it all the time just to understand it, so 2x, no.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I already talk at 2x. I have to remember this, like, there's people in India that are.
Well,
I'm losing
last
them.
week,
Yeah.
they were pushing you in 2x because they were switching the slides pretty quick when you were doing that release notes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what that turned out to be?
It was it you or what was that?
What happened?
It was in the deck.
Oh, there was a.
Oh.
I got this deck from Adam Stout. This was
Oh.
completely on my
Auto
fault.
advance.
I got, and he had an audio track for each slide. He was
Hey,
saying the speaker
Adam.
notes. So there was always a speaker icon down there. You know, and you click it, it says, flow designer enhancements include blah, 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 blah. And he knew how long that was, so he put a timer on the slide, so it would auto advance. Well, I went and ripped off all the audio and said, I don't need that. Put in some of my own slides, and I was rehearsing for 2 weeks before, but I was not at home, so I didn't have them in presentation mode like you see here. So I never truly tested that deck.
That's right.
That's on me.
Okay, I was blaming the software you were using.
Well, what we do is we take the deck and we upload it to a service called On24. So when we do these webinars, they upload them to the On24 server. And I knew they didn't support animations, but I knew nothing about timers.
And now you know.
Yeah, now we all know.
Yeah.
Painfully aware. Painfully aware. Fortunately, I was able to fix it in post. So what you watch on YouTube looks stunning. I even edited out the part like, what the fuck is going on? There's nothing about that in there. Oh, wait, we're recording this, sorry. Safe harbor? So, yeah, I edited it out, and you wouldn't even know anything happened. There's just a couple of jump cuts in when I'm talking about like the rest or something. Okay, that was interesting, but pardon my French. I was ready to say that on air. I was just getting so damn frustrated.
I thought you did a great job. I could see it on your face. Hold it together.
Stop doing this, stupid. All right, there are some more Flow Designer enhancements. If you've been using Flow Designer for a while, you're wondering why is it so hard to add two numbers together? Yeah, it's supposed to be a low code thing, right? But yet I had to make custom actions to add two numbers. Well, now we have some more mathematical and string functions to go along. So more transform pill, data pill transform functions. I believe that's what Brad did on Creator Toolbox this morning, but I haven't watched it yet. We also have improved performance. Yay! Just things like loading up times and running times, because you have the option of turning on or off all of those things that are logged to make the execution details, which are great for debugging. But once something's running and you hit activate, go, we don't need all that information logged every time. Unless your password expires. Not bitter about that at all. See, when it comes to integrations between systems, I'm more of an API key guy. They don't expire. OAuth is a person to system thing, because you have to periodically re-authenticate. Why whoever built the YouTube spoke and many other spokes used OAuth, I don't know. Not bitter.
Not at all.
There's also that third button or that third bullet item about automatically cleaning variables. That was just another performance enhancement. There's a table called var_dictionary where Flow Designer would keep throwing things indefinitely. We now said, after 30 days, just purge it and hey, look, it runs faster. So I don't even know if most people are aware of that table. I wasn't. So anything that improves performance, I'm all for it.
Is that similar to the variable table for requested items where you get people's answers and it just sort of sits out there forever? Maybe with the
Probably
development.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the exact same table though.
Probably not the same table, but the
Yeah,
same
same
idea.
concept, yeah. All right, integration hub, again, one of my favorite topics about making things talk to other things. This is the big new shiny. If you're looking for something in Rome, this is probably my favorite and big new shiny thing. Anybody done data imports before? Data sources, import sets, transform maps? That was like sysadmin class 101. Okay, right? Fun stuff. Right? You get to work with the import set mapper, the field mapper. You can. This is the next generation of all of that.
Oh.
So it allows you to do the data mapping. Currently in Rome, it only works with data streams, which are also a really cool feature, but I'm sure they will be expanding that out in the future.
So don't be bringing your no spreadsheets in
Not yet,
here. Not yet.
not yet. Not yet, but data streams, if you're not aware, are a great way to import large data sets efficiently. If you've got 100,000 records to go get from your SAP system and you try one REST call, you're going to be waiting for a response and it'll probably time out. So data streams allow you to say, give me page 1 in a chunk of 50. So you can get 50 records and then keep utilizing them periodically. It goes, I need 50 more, I need 50 more. But Flow just keeps going through this for each loop going, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you don't even know where the page limits are until you're done consuming records. So data streams are also available as an option in data sources. So if you're setting up a traditional data source with a spreadsheet or whatever, data streams are available there if you've already built one. I had a lot of fun last summer building out a whole bunch of these for YouTube. It was because I'm literally refreshing that karaoke database of 40,000 records every night. It's a living CMDB. Videos are being added, videos are being changed, they change regions on me. Like, hey, what's up with Denmark? This channel just blocked 700 things from Denmark? That's weird. Okay, but I don't want people in Denmark playing with the app and going, why does it keep saying video unavailable? Why does it keep saying video unavailable? Again, like your CMDB, you want it to be accurate so people get the services they need. So this, getting back to what we were talking about.
I don't suppose you've had any fun doing Azure DevOps, have you?
I have not done Azure DevOps yet. Have you?
We're in the process.
What do you think?
I think I don't know how to map it. That's what I think.
Okay, getting onto this, it really integrates and makes that user experience of building the data source, the transform map, the target table. It's really 3 steps on the side, and just kind of like App Engine Studio, if you've ever seen that, walks you through. Here's what you do first. Tell me what, point me at a data source. Next, map the fields. Next, tell me where you want it to go. Okay. Now, drag and drop and tell me what you want. The match field is your coalesce, by the way. So I think that's a much better term, frankly. If I could go back in time 12 years, maybe unique would be a good one too.
Or on this one.
Key field, something.
I know sometimes these screenshots are maybe designed before the final product. It says integration hub in the top left corner. Is this going to be something you open maybe from Flow Designer, or is it going to be its own standalone interface for this new
This
feature?
piece is its own UI. I
Okay.
don't know if it actually manifests itself in Flow Designer as a tab.
Okay,
I haven't seen the final implementation.
still an early available.
This is,
Safe harbor.
this is in early availability.
Okay, I'll check it out.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I need to mention. Something else that came up, we've gotten asked, why don't you tell me if I'm getting close to my subscriptions or licensing issues as I'm using Integration Hub? We now have that. There are messages on the screen. If you try to pick something like a smoker action that you're not licensed for, it goes, hey, just so you're aware, this has been loaded on your dev system, but you can't run it in prod, that kind of thing. This second one about duplicate query parameters threw me off at first. I'm like, who's ever asked for that? Because normally with your like a REST API, you say, name equals Chuck, ID equals 3, age equals 582. I've never had a need for duplicate query parameters on the URI, but this says, maybe you're specifying what columns to include from some other source. I need a spreadsheet, and sometimes it's fields equals this comma, this comma, this comma, this, ampersand, whatever. But not everybody does it that way. There were a number of times customers said, I could really use this. And there was a way to hack around this in previous releases with like this crazy asterisk, caret, whatever it was. But now it's actually literally supported. We won't collapse or consolidate or do anything with them. We will send them as supported. And for all you security people, we now support TLS 1.2. Yay. Crowd goes nuts. Okay. And speaking of security, any other questions about Flow Designer Integration Hub before I move on?
So regarding Flow Designer, I heard and I read about pushing on let's use Flow Designer rather than the old workflows. Is it still supported? And I guess that there is no plans for like shooting that off. You can still doing the old workflows, even though it's not like approach that people should be using, right? Like is them to be creating flows.
At this point, I would say yes. Create new flows in Flow Designer.
I am asking because, for example, just a dummy example, I guess, the workflow for direct use for the request, that's a flow, a workflow that is out of the box. I believe.
If it's already a workflow,
it won't be changed.
They won't,
We do have
not
a-
going away.
We have a flow you could switch to if you want to
Oh,
switch
okay.
what you're using, but by default, yeah. it's
By
the
default is a
workflow.
Workflows aren't going.
With.
They're not going away. They'll always be there.
It's very useful.
No, yeah, I think there's only been like one instance where we got rid of something, but we always had an upgrade path for that. But like service portal is going to stick around. CMS is still around.
CMS
is still around. CMS is still around. Old workflows will still be around because there's a lot of people that have built that for sure in the architecture. It just won't be getting any more love. There's no development effort going into it. You can still use it. I'm gonna stop
I
you.
am seeing a big trend where a lot of companies are starting to come and say they want to migrate from their old instances back to an out-of-the-box instance.
That's especially with customers that have been around for 6 or more years, 5 more years.
I'm doing AMD right now. So AMD's moving, they were for Alpha, or sorry, Alpine.
We need to put them like on the keynote stage at Knowledge for all the new customers who think they know what they need to do for an implementation.
But I can give you a great example. I am working with a customer that I won't disclose the name, but basically they are moving from Remedy to ServiceNow, and they keep the mindset of Remedy. They want to build Remedy in ServiceNow, therefore everything is getting custom. So I have been saying this several times, like, why then you pay for ServiceNow? Because we're just customizing this thing, adding fields, changing things. So in the future, you will be screwed up because you won't be able to take full advantage of the new features.
Exactly.
So do you know how I handle this? Because I deal with this all the time. I actually have, multiple large customers I deal with. What you do is you come back to them and you say, we can totally do that, but let me help you understand what the technical debt that you're going to incur by that. And you put that to a number, and here's how you calculate your technical debt. If during an upgrade, you're going to upgrade twice a year, if during an upgrade, it's going to take one developer 1 hour to revalidate that code that they want you to add in there, that's one technical debt token. Okay, so if they come in there and they want you to add all of this workflow from Remedy, then you just do your stories, you add your technical debt to the stories, you track it in a spreadsheet, and you hand them here and you say, this is going to cost you 150 hours in your next upgrade, and you're going to pay that technical debt every 6 months. How valuable is this to you? Or would you like to learn how the ServiceNow does it out of the box so that you don't have to pay that technical debt?
Yeah, then ask them to put a dollar amount to that.
Then you put a
that-
dollar amount. How
yeah.
much do you
The
pay your
hourly rate.
developers? So you take it very methodical like that. You tell them you'll do what they want them to do. You work with them on it. You explain to them exactly what it's going to cost them long-term for it. And once that is explained, 95% of the times in the customers I'm dealing with, and I've done PricewaterhouseCooper, Intelsat, AMD, I'm doing AT&T now. I mean, all of them will come back and go, yeah, we didn't really need that button on there. We'll go ahead and learn how to use the tool out of the box.
You have been lucky. We have been pushing that and they're like, no,
No.
our users don't change.
You just see a cost.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
don't.
you put the dollar
Management,
amount
yes,
to it.
management, voicing that, but like the technical guys or people that needs to be working daily with users, they are like, we are not going to fight against our users.
You gotta get the ear of the sponsor of the
Yeah.
project. Who owns the project?
Or
He
no.
owns the, he owns the.
He owns the money.
Yeah. We've all been there, so don't get there.
No, I got used to that. I'm like,
I'm there every other week.
but the thing is that I feel bad because it's like, why I'm letting these guys doing that thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like ethics and moral. I'm
Oh,
like,
well, you warn them, but.
yeah,
they
I
wanna
did
pay
my
you,
best, but
whatever.
they are the ones paying. So,
I quickly found out how many activities you could put in a workflow when there's somebody tried to tell me to recreate the one that we were using in our old system. I reached the limit. And back then it was like 100 activities back then.
Yeah.
like,
I think there was a property. that
There
you
was a
changed.
property
Yeah.
thing that was preset, there's so many activities in a workflow. And I went, okay, we can't do that because, and I didn't tell them I could fix it, I didn't tell them I could help it. I just said, no, it's
Just shut it
not
up.
possible.
It's a variable, Terry.
Let's do the out of the box workflow for change management instead.
So,
Yeah.
so I wrote an app that hooks into the Agile model, right? The safe, that works with the stories. Because right now, when you write a story, you can do all the story stuff, you can do the story points, everything, but you don't know what the technical debt is to implement that story.
Mm.
So my app, and it's a scope app, you can take your story and you actually tie the technical debt and the description of what that technical debt is, right? Are you adding fields, doing that kind of stuff? And then when you run a report of that, you can combine that and say, look, we got X amount of technical debt in this instance. Based on the stories, not based on the upgrade structure. I'd like to write it so that it would actually go in and look at all the modified items. And tie that
Technical
together.
debt dashboard.
Yeah.
I've seen one of those. One other way I've handled it is to just try to challenge them on, do they actually have processes or have they just been architecting their processes around the limitations of their software?
Yeah, that's usually what I see. Because they figure out what they could do, build what they do around that. And that's now their mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Help them try to envision, if you could have anything you wanted, what would it be? And hopefully it looks just like ServiceNow out of the box.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like, let's take Instant. So Instant out of the box works. That's the flow that if you read ITIL, that matches, but we go to any customer like, and they are like, no, that's not what we want to do. Because they did like a whole tropicalization of the thing. They just make ITIL even bigger,
Yeah.
attaching other frameworks, other methodologies. So it's just a monster. And the idea is to push back and tell them like, no,
And
let's adapt to that.
And I'm not supporting, I agree with what you're saying, technical debt, but I know I've been in the same situation where IT views the customer as king. We piss them off enough. We're just trying to make it, this one will go okay and make it as much like the old app as we can. We move on, that's all. Yeah, I get it. When you say that's what you're fighting, show them some numbers, hopefully.
Yeah. And then say, 95% of the customers who tried that regretted it.
There you go.
And to bring it back to the developer, hopefully all these new incident changes go inside of a scoped app called this company's new incident management.
So you can delete it later.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean,
That's a really good idea.
there's.
Please don't build everything in global.
But yeah, I know, I've got a couple of accounts this year that Infosys has picked up specifically to re-platform from ServiceNow to ServiceNow. It's good business for us, we charge them a whole lot of money. And it's, about 6 month project. Move them into out of the box. But I'll tell you, you get a lot of buy-in from the executives once they have to sign that check to move to an out of the box. They have a real dedication to not modifying the system.
Yes, leaders do not understand what you're saying, but if you put a dollar figure in front of them for what they'll be wasting every year, you'll suddenly have their attention.
It's literally how I formulate every question I have to my leadership is I attach a dollar figure to it. This is how much money I'll save to do this. And they don't even care what the thing is. It's just that dollar.
Dollar bills.
Milan, you're being awful quiet over there. I'm just listening, taking.
Okay, any questions?
Not right now.
We're just having a general.
Don't run screaming.
Air your grievances.
That's the worst thing was therapy.
Do you have any therapy you'd like to share with us?
But going back to the topic that brought all of this, I guess that the trend is all customers that they started in Aspen and even on-prem, they are now switching, like, let's just move to the cloud and let's just move out of the box because we are just spending a lot of money maintaining this technical debt. So that's good.
The other thing that's really important to tell them is that if they do a lot of customizations, they won't be able to take advantage of the new features that ServiceNow releases because they'll be skipping those update sets.
Yep.
As they skip them, they don't get the new features. Between managing the upgrades and then skipped features that they're not going to get through new releases, they're really hurting themselves pretty badly.
And if you run that health scorecard, that'll show them in black and white how upgradable there are. And if they customize too much and they start going down into like the 60-70% range, like he said, you're gonna lose a lot when you go to the next release. So we try to keep our score like in the high 90s. So
Even with today, I found 67 incidents that somehow fell through the cracks.
right. And we
From
fixed it
4 years ago.
from 4 years.
Yeah.
I think you missed the SLA on those.
We just turned SLAs back on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was doing a report and I was like, hey, let me look at the SLA. So these are reached. How the F are they 4 years old? So I did like a search and like, Terry, can we close these? Like without notifying all 67 customers that we're closed now?
Yeah.
Totally.
The danger of the settled controls.
There was a workflow, no, because people were canceling from the list view.
Yeah.
They were like selecting the list
They
view,
were
like
changing their
cancel.
state in a list view instead of actually opening up.
So it didn't kick off the workflow to
Yeah.
do the whole like. result.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does
we
now.
have.
It does now. but
Now it does. 4 years ago it did.
The problem when you're working in IT, you have too many programmers that know how to get away around all those buildings and,
Yeah, if they used to go into a mobile view.
yeah. They didn't
Just-
have to do the required fields to resolve an incident if they went to a
Yeah.
mobile view. So, yeah, we've done a lot of ACLs. and that. So smart
person.
aleck programmers, that-
One person.
two, there was two,
Stacy.
Stacy and Matt. They lived for that.
Speaking of security,
Yeah.
Chuck, I heard there's some great security updates.
Yeah, let's zip through this. I don't know if we're running out of time. Right, how late is this supposed to go tonight? All right, multi-factor, we've got support for the PIV and CAC cards, or two of the big ones. So a lot of our federal customers love this stuff. We also have contextual security, and I thought contextual security came out in Quebec, but I could be wrong on this one. But it allows you to set up policies that say things like, if you're on the VPN, you just need, your standard SSO login. If you're not on the VPN, you're gonna need SSO plus, an MFA of some type. So you can set up these policies. If you're coming in from China, you're blocked entirely, that kind of thing.
That's similar to what you have to do now with Wi-Fi, where you have to have the multi-factor.
Yeah, it's like, well, contextual security is like, if you're in the office, you can just log in at your computer.
Right.
If you log in from home, well, then you need to get your two-factor out of that.
Right.
Of course, now we're programming on the VPN. You have no choice.
Yes.
Whatever. They changed our VPN thing. It's not elective anymore. And of course, biometric options, we've got support for that. One that I found interesting was this one. If you've got people that are doing export from lists, like, hey, export this to an Excel, and you want to mark tables that are secure, you can now say, I want to be notified. I want to know when somebody's doing an export on this table.
I can't believe we never had this feature before.
You can do.
I don't know if we never had the feature, we just never acted on an event. Because I
Yeah.
thought there was an event that got triggered from that, or if that's the new piece. So I asked about this because there was a question from the live broadcast last week. They said, does that also include like REST APIs? I said, no, it's just for the lists right now. But I said, hey, if you think it's valuable, you go to the idea portal on the community and you put it in there or upvote it.
And then spam waiting for stuff.
You don't want to
Yeah,
end
that
up in
would
the
be a weird
news
thing
as
to
that
do.
company that lost the spreadsheet from, on the laptop that was stolen. We've also got encryption options, and I believe this image is around one of the access policies. But what I was told is we can now do platform encryption that does not impact the business logic. If you did platform encryption before, not edge encryption, the actual platform encryption, and we do have the tech now for August 31st is on encryption options, because my head just kind of swims in the various options that we've got. There's edge, there's platform, there's field, there's this, there's that. I said, somebody just lay it out there for me. So for the last 2 years, I've been asking Pierre on the product team, hey, when are we doing that tech now on encryption? And we finally nailed it down.
This is very timely, Chuck. I just yesterday had this conversation with AMD. And I need a 1-page, 2-page overview of where your encryption is right now. Because I was talking to him about, edge encryption versus field level encryption versus database encryption. And I could not tell him the pros and cons. I couldn't tell them what they were going to lose if they did one encryption versus the other. So, we're going to get in a hold of our sales rep, the AMD sales rep, and try to get this together. But if you're going to be doing that, I think that's within our timeline. We could just get that info from there. So
If you've got specific questions, throw them at me, then I could, make them part of the content too.
yeah. Let me
Why not?
Let me review that a little bit because it was just yesterday, and we got the CISO involved, and he had all these questions. I put them out to the core already, and they went through that. But that doesn't tell you encryption, right? That's not the same thing, and so it's changed a lot since I really was digging into encryption a lot. My last customer was 4 years ago on encryption, and so.
I think Edge was just coming out about that.
Yeah, I had Edge and field level encryption at that time. And so when they mentioned database level encryption, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. My mind as well. And the reason it's taken 2 years is because Pierre keeps saying, well, hold on, we've got something new coming out. Hold on, we've got something. It's like, Pierre, let's just set the table now and we can always do it incremental later. Okay. Foundation products, system logs. I'm sure everybody's been in the system logs at least once in their life, right? Use system logs all. And the source usually says a scope gap or ** script or whatever it says. Source is still there. Nothing changed there, but we've added 2 new fields to help you understand what software, what package this is coming from. So there's a source package and a source application family that will help with diagnostics. If you're like me, you're always putting in, filter out or show matching on something in the log. I mean, I've got safe filters that, especially if you turn on instance data replication, say goodbye to your log. It just gets so noisy in there that I go to source bang star IDR. That does not contain IDR. And then table cleaners next. Otherwise, I can't find my own diagnostic messages. Installations, if you turn on plugins, you can have scheduled plugins to turn on. I get 2 amp, and you can stack them up. So you can do multiples at a time.
There you go.
You like that one, huh?
Yeah, very much. Wish I had that last week.
Oh, that's so bad. Yeah, after hours, what could possibly go wrong?
Oh, my 3-hour change request.
Does anybody use Instant Scan yet? Instant Scan, are you familiar with Help Scan? Okay, Help Scan you request through Pi or support as they now call it, as the kids call it. And it does a sanity check on your instance, how upgradable, how scalable, blah, blah, blah. And it does a series of checks. Instant Scan allows you to do that on your own instance as of Quebec.
So you've got access to anytime you want in Quebec and forward to run an instance scan and create your own definitions or checks. So if you want to look for global business rules, you can even do a data sanity check. I learned this from one of our MEPs, Mark Ruthoff. He said, you ever wonder about those users that don't have a manager and they fall through the approvals all the time as approved? Go write yourself a check and you can write an instance scan to look for data sanity, not just system configurations that developers are doing. I thought, wow, that's an amazing, obvious idea, but it's great. Well, what we've added in Rome to instance scan is this thing called a reactive scan. It's simply a trigger that says, watch this table to see if something goes wrong. In this case, an update set failed. If an update set fails, it will run an instance scan. So you can be more proactive than reactive on this stuff. It will automatically kick off an instance scan for you. If an update set fails, if a plugin fails, if, I don't know exactly how far down the rabbit hole you can go, but I would think if you, try to push something to the app repo and it failed, this will kick that off. So this is pretty cool.
It sounds cool. Is there more on the form that's not in the screenshot?
I don't know. I have to look.
Pretty
It
simple
feels
looking
like there ought to be some conditions or something.
Yeah,
doesn't
pretty
it?
much.
Like, that isn't it, is it? So we'll have to look at that scale.
Probably create the trigger and then go in and say what the actions are.
So that's the scan trigger table that set the trigger type sys execution tracker.source under table. Is that the instance scan itself?
So we're looking at a screenshot of step 1, and then step 2 alludes to another table.
We can go look. I've got a Rome instance. My PDI has been upgraded. Let's find out what that table is when we're done here. One final thing, the inbound action rules have been changed for inbound emails, and I did verify this, and flow is triggered by emails. So this is at the inbound engine hub. The situation was such that CSM came along and a rather large entertainment industry in Florida that has a mouse for a logo, but I'm not allowed to name them. They recently released a big streaming service, and many of their call center agents and employees are also subscribers. And in ServiceNow, it would only recognize that one email address in the sysuser table. But they had two different personas. So you're in the sysuser table with your employee record, but what about your home address that you use to subscribe to the service? Because when you have an issue on said streaming service, it's actually ServiceNow running their ticketing engine behind the scenes. So CSM didn't have a way to really distinguish different personas that people have, or a university that's got students that are also faculty. That would be an issue. So they did two things. One in CSM is, and I fixed this diagram was incorrect on the webinar. And my references and extends backwards. I apologize about that. I went back and looked at that this afternoon. We created a table that references sysuser. This is what, think of this as like the parent table to all those extra things you want to put in sysuser.
Yeah.
But you don't.
Because you don't.
Because you'll have 6,000 extra fields in sysuser.
What's your favorite color?
7 for this app and 10 for that app.
Yes.
Yeah, or you can extend sysuser, but that becomes a bit of a nightmare as well. So this is a great table architecture if you're creating your own app, by the way. Or you're using the feature that came out in Paris called external user self-registration. Very handy. If you're ever thinking about building your own external user self-registration, don't. I did once. No, that the password reset sucks and everything else. So this is a great way to use that feature. If you've got external users like a government agency, like a Department of Motor Vehicles, you don't want all 6 million people in your state having to, I don't know, they can register. And with OpenID, you can now tie this into Google or Amazon or Apple, so you can use their authentication instead. Yes, I put that on the karaoke just because I could. But anyway, getting back to this table structure, this allows you to not only identify those different personas as extra properties or extra fields for sysuser, but email rules, the inbound email rules have been changed to not just look at sysuser.email as the, like, do you match this on the from address? If not, you're guessed. Okay, that's the way it used to be. It will now look at sysuser.email. You go, do you match? If not, I'm going to go down the list of things in the CMN under noted device table. All those extra devices you've got could actually be additional email addresses. So you can have different personas and match them to what these are.
But this is all, is this only if you buy CSM?
Nope.
Or this is a platform level?
Yep.
Okay.
This is simply a diagram of how CSM changed their table structure. The underlying email rules still look at sysuser and then
And these
The CMN
tables, but
notice.
these tables are extended out in the base row. This table structure.
that's what you will get if you load CSM.
CSM, okay.
Or if you upgrade, I believe they changed that.
So,
Pretty sure. Not, hashtag not CSM expert. But yeah, this is a really great way. When I first implemented the external user self-registration, I went back and forth with the product team. I said, should I extend sysuser the way that CSM does? And they said, no. No, don't do it that way. I said, well, how should I do it? They said, make a separate table that references sysuser. Makes it a little more complex if you're writing an app that has to find a user and get their profile data, but it really pays dividends in the end. So from an app architecture standpoint, that's a better layout.
So if you don't have CSM, what you get is the app user persona
You
table.
would still get sysuser. That's all you're gonna get if you don't have CSM. But it doesn't preclude you from creating, in the case of the karaoke app, I called it user profile. Very unimaginative, but that's got things like, what party are you currently in? How many songs have you sung? What's your average rating? All that kind of stuff is attached to the user profile. And then when I want to display that on the screen or take a look at it, I can combine sysuser with the user profile and really get the full picture of what that user is about for that app.
is it going to do the same thing for vendor risk then?
I don't know.
Something similar for the vendor context. So I see
That-
it's on there.
That would make
Or
sense.
it's hopefully.
Hopefully.
In this
In which
context,
case,
it's a
Dale's
CSM vendor.
assumption of the app user persona table may be correct. I don't have actual table names for these, unfortunately. I looked at them, couldn't find them. But I'll bet if you go into sysdb object and look for that label, you'll find it.
I was trying to keep my laptop closed.
Not me. Okay, 3 calls to action. Upgrade your PDI, read the release notes and check out the docs of your favorite apps and platform stuff, and have fun exploring.
So we can do Roam now on our PDIs?
Yes, you
Yeah.
can, as of July 22nd.
Oh, I upgraded mine.
Yep.
2 days ago.
I upgraded mine before that.
Well, excuse us.
Well, I'm good.
Because mine expired when I was on vacation, and so I didn't see the option to, I went out, got a new instance, and I only saw up to Quebec, I didn't see Rome.
Yeah, I'm just joking. My main reason for becoming an employee was so I could get all the new toys early. That was.
That was the main reason.
That was it.
I can see that. No, I can see that.
Good discussion, everybody. Any comments or notes from the Zoom crowd?
I guess the only question I have is where's happy hour after this?
If you have a badge, you can go over there, sign up. Yeah, okay, if James has liquor.
That's right.
I thought they had beer, at least the ones outside of an airport always have beer. but-
Starbucks has beer there.
They do have way overpriced beer. You have Chang's has beer.
Money 24/7.
Yeah, they
Yeah, they do.
yeah.
Hard Rock did, but they're not, they don't, Hard Rock has a full bar.
Yeah, Hard Rock. Yeah, it's tough when Hard Rock, Starbucks, P.F. Chang's, Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, Qdoba, K-Walk, another K-Walk are all within 76 steps of your desk.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous. He knows that number too.
My desk is over
76.
there.
Because his office is right here.
That's where my
His
desk
office is
Just on my desk. Yeah. So, yeah, my car is parked literally above where I sit. I get out, go down, come out, and then it's like 76 steps to every
In
day.
each direction, right, yeah.
Then I was gonna say.
Exactly.
Yeah. And to make it even better, they have an app now, so they will deliver food to your desk.
Yeah.
In case there's 70 steps or not.
Yeah, it's called Grab. So if you're here, you can still use it, but they will deliver food to your desk.
They charge an extra
So
fee.
you really
For
don't want to
$3.
move to that new building.
Huh?
You don't want to move to that new building.
No, none of us do.
I'm
We want to stay right here.
I struggle, man. I'm trying to be healthy, man. I'm trying to be healthy. It's tough.
Chuck, on the last live coding happy hour, who's the speaker at the comment, Adam?
Did we do last?
Anyway, the talk, the theoretical talk, not theoretical, let's talk about the store versus the release. More products are coming out in the store, they cannot.
Oh, right.
And the
Yeah.
refresh rate is obviously unlimited kind of thing. From a high perspective on that, as far as cost and licensing, with the platform, the release comes out, a lot of stuff's bundled in. With the store, it's more incremental, individual products. But I can see more and more is going to be shifted over to the store just for the refresh rate being not dependent upon releases type of thing.
Right.
Is that gonna, how will the cost structure has changed very much, or will customers see more itemized bills, so to speak, in the products they use, or?
God, I hope we don't see more line items.
No, they're
The general feedback from customers that we've heard is simplify, please. It's gotten crazy. Gone are the old days where it was one product, one price.
Ask your rep, that's the standing.
Yeah, and it's gotten very complex, and different customers are different places in their contracts. So I could say all the way up to the leadership team has gotten the feedback that it's out of control. It needs to be complex. It's preventing us from, that's one of our competitive disadvantages, if you want to call it that. So they're aware. I don't know what impact that's going to make on the store apps themselves. There are many things in there that are like the CLI. It's on the store, but I don't think you pay for it.
Okay.
No, most of the stuff on the store is free.
Oh, okay.
Like when you
This
do
is specialized ones.
like the ITOM patterns.
Integration hubs, folks.
Yeah, those are all free off the store.
I see more in the GRC space, they're going, and more of the new stuff is going to the store.
Yeah, it's a lot of the new stuff, and some is being backward. Like we said that we're moving, what was that one slide that I said? It's actually been moved to the store. So it's holy hell on the marketing team, because they used to plan for, this cadence of every 6 months, and now it's like, whoa, wait, what's coming up? So we're figuring all that out internally. But for the customer, it makes more sense. It's like, kind of like any app on your phone. Hey, it's been updated. You want to get it updated?
Why wait for months? Yeah.
Right.
That's the idea. It's a different release mechanism for all the free stuff. Or even not free stuff, it's still a better release mechanism. So it's not tied to that family release. So say, they said they're upgrading to Quebec, and then they won't do Rome until in springtime or something. What if they want something that came out around now? Well, if it's tied to the release, they have to wait. But if it's from the store, they upgrade anytime.
Very much the same model as, you got your operating system on your phone or laptop, and then you got the apps that go on top of it. So,
And the release can offer the best of both worlds, in that can catch you up on stuff that's because it's bundled.
Sort of. So the things that are still tied to the release are going to be tied to the release. But yeah, the phone is the platform, and then apps different are really the best way to think about it. Like Apple usually has all of their bundled Apple stuff as part of their iOS release. But I can go get any other app and upgrade it any other time I want to. Just because I upgrade to iOS 27, I don't get, doesn't upgrade every other app on my phone. But all those other apps do have to be on that version by a certain point, or Apple won't allow. Now, ServiceNow is not as stringent, but it will say in the app, this is supported to this version, to this version, to this version. So, you know, if it says the last version it supported was Helsinki, maybe you don't want to put that.
Well, third-party apps.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of modules that ServiceNow has that I've been having a hard time like getting into my personal instance, like the whole telecommunications stuff. That's not available on a personal instance.
Yeah, not all apps are available on the PDIs. Some of that stuff that you need to hire for the store.
Yeah.
However, there are a number of things that are available on the PDIs that would traditionally cost money, like Integration Hub and CSM, that you can load up on your PDI and test them out, kick the tires, sandbox them, whatever you want to call it. So kind of a give and trade.
Yeah, there's no way around that. I'm like, I just wanted the telecommunications so that I could burn it because I had a customer that wanted to deploy. Well, we were in the middle of a deployment when telecommunications came out, was released, you know, and they're like, well, should we be going over there? And I'm like, I don't know.
If there's stuff that you can't get on the store, if you work for a partner that's a little bit different, your company should have partner emphasis, of course, you have partner instances. And so the hard part then is trying to get somebody at your company to break you off a partner instance.
We're full, like we have, I think 50 to 60 partner instances, and I struggled to try to find someone that would break me off one.
Yeah.
I did get it, but you know, it took me a couple days. And I was like, I just wanted to load it on my PWI.
Yeah.
Just want to load it.
Chuck, we did have a release in Quebec that I think slipped. It was the individual instances at customers or something. Do you know anything about that one?
I heard about that probably a year ago, but haven't heard much else.
I haven't either.
Think PDI, but it's tied into your org structure so that you can have multiple developers on multiple instances. So it would allow your developers to truly have that developer experience. Right now, if everybody goes to, Acme Dev, they're all working on the same branch, on the same app repo, on the same source control of the same app. It's like, well, no, wait, I want to make a fork and go do my own thing and see if it works. And if not, I throw it away. If it does, I merge it back to the main branch, et cetera, et cetera. This gives you that capability. It's almost like it's what a lot of developers would expect. Like, hey, when I'm working on my .NET application, I have my own copy on my laptop. I take it home at night. I do my own thing, and if I lose, and I wipe it out and start over. So it would be that kind of thing, but in more of a cloud structure. That was the plan, and I haven't heard a target on when that's coming out. But I think they're calling them IDIs, individual developer instances.
So I've done that. I've done that with just PWIs and team developer for companies, right? It's just, remember, you can't let your instance, get reset,
Yeah.
But you can use.
You can do that with source control, but you wouldn't be able to do that through the app repo though, because that needs the same company code. It's
App repo. Okay, I get it. Because we was doing it through team developer.
I think team development is,
That's mainly update set based.
yeah, and I think it's I think that one's sort of
Haven't touched.
going into long-term support mode.
Oh, is it?
Well, I don't like to say deprecate, don't say the D word.
That's a good word. Huh? Okay. It's been a while since I've set that up, but yeah.
I'd say the modern way to think about it more is the thing that wasn't in this deck that we came out with in Quebec, which we're already on Rome now, was the App Engine Studio pipeline and making it a lot easier to let other people develop apps. And then you just click, you want to deploy it, admin clicks deploy, and it just deploys. No updates that needed. That's one of my favorite features in Quebec.
Yeah, as part of that governance, I kind of glossed over it. As part of the governance, you can define what that pipeline looks like. Because not all apps need admin approval. If you've got your super duper team working on a super duper app, you trust them, say, like, don't bother me with the approval. But if it's a, Larry from marketing, this is his first app, and you want to keep an eye on the changes that they're doing, you can put a flow behind it that says, all right, Larry put in for a push request. Let's go take a look at what Larry did. Approved, and it goes off to test and prod.
So it sounds like I need to skill up in this area because, yeah, I think I'm a little behind.
on this. App
Because
registry
we're
is a
still
pretty-
using-
Pretty powerful thing.
Yeah, we're still using update sets for pretty much every client that I have.
Most people are, I'd say like 90% of everyone I talk to is still using update sets. And the other 10% are either moved on to app repo or have heard about it. So you're still in the majority.
So do app repo, huh?
App repo and or source control.
Yeah,
You choose one or the other. I wouldn't do both.
Well, so source control,
there's a really good guide on the developer site, the pro developer guide. I think Andrew wrote it. And it's got a really good diagram and lays out when to use which one for what time. And so like if you're in the dev environment, that's a good time to check out your app, use update sets while you're developing. And when you're done, commit it back to source control. When you're ready to release it to QA or prod, that's when you release it to the app repo. QA picks it out of the app repo, prod picks it out of the app repo. So app repo, you can think of kind of like your binary or completed version. Source controls for your different branches while you're working on it.
so can you include data in your app repo?
Yeah, if you want to tie data to the app, you can include that in your app, force it in there, like demo data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, or configuration data.
Yeah.
Yes, lookup rules are a classic example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's tough to do with update sets, right?
Yeah, you gotta have that special little add merge to app. Or
Add to
update.
update set version 4.6.7.
I loathe that thing now.
Yeah.
Every time I see it, I'm like, what a crunch.
All right. So now I gotta
There's so
find,
much stuff you can't put in an update set, that you have to go back and redo in the new instance anyway, like group members and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be a lot of that transactional data.
Yes.
Kind of tricky, right? There are some things that are not tracked out of the update set. You can kind of force it doing some scripting, but if you forgot to do it, then it gets tricky.
And so that's a lot of the reasons we came out with the idea of using the app repo. But like a big ship, it'll take years to sort of steer everybody in the enterprise to a new way of doing things. This is some developer meetup, a disclaimer, and we showed the safe harbor slide. But yeah, I mean, update sets are a 17-year-old technology, if they've run their course. So I would say, don't take my word for it, but in the next 5 years or so, there's probably a world where that 90% using update sets gets smaller and smaller to a newer way of doing things with app repo.
Well, you didn't watch my panel with David Liu and Bo Ruggieri, did you?
I guess not.
Update sets were not original.
They were not?
Not part of the original architecture.
I'm in sales, I just make things.
So
up.
So I didn't know this until I started talking to these guys. It was one of my favorite discussions. What I really miss about going to Knowledge in person is that FaceTime that you get with people. Those kind of after the session talks. And I always seem to run into David Liu and Bo Ruggieri. They are real people. They're not just demo data. And it was Ruggieri, not Ruggieri. David was both of those two were two of the founding four people of ServiceNow. It was Fred Luddy. Then he brought on Don Goodliff, Bo Ruggieri, and David Liu. And David is like wicked smart. He's got a PhD in computer science and bright enough to start two companies, not just ServiceNow, but he went on Perspective as well. And I was talking to him and I said, well, because the whole idea was, let's compare development in the early days on the platform, building an app, trying to do stuff, and development today. And just for fun, we pulled out an old 2007 instance of ServiceNow and said, can we build a simple table and workflow? And my God, it took me 4 hours just to prepare for that live coding happy hour. And we don't normally prepare. There's not even a filter navigator to help you get to where you want to go. There's no workflow. Everything was, right click this and very arcane and hidden, but you could do it. I mean, yeah, you could get there. And I asked them, I said, today we've got app repos, we've got source control, we've got these great ways to move things around. How did you make changes and promote those from dev to test to prod? He said, we didn't. originally, that was part of the game plan, is customers don't have to have a dev system. You were modifying in prod back then,
Yeah.
like the first 2 years. I was like, oh, my eyes, but yeah, I did that too, like, you what?
That was your business plan?
And then customers started saying, well, we've got more governance and we kind of need, to prepare and try things and test them out. Yeah, I was just about as shocked. So, and then they came out with this set technology, because we could already export to XML, so they said, well, why don't we just capture that and then we'll promote it? And, okay, yeah, so that's what happened there. But yeah, that was a shocker to me too. But it was probably a year, 2 years in before that came up as a requirement. And being the nimble startup company, they said, one weekend, they go bang it out, and go, okay, it's done.
Even more of an argument to get away from them than, we just made this because customers asked for it. So I retract my statement, replace the variable with, they've been around for 10 years.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun trying to get work done on 2007. It was more frustration than anything else. Oh, there were no ACLs either.
Wow. So anybody could do it?
When you made a table, you said this table you can create. I think there was roles, maybe. You could say, I told people could create, write, update, read. It was very, very primitive stuff, but it worked. It worked, and it was fast. I mean, faster than actually writing HTML and JavaScript. Yeah, the bones were there, but it was just really rugged. It was really rugged. It makes you really appreciate what we have today.
So Chuck, one question, going back to virtual agent. I don't know if it was on one of your sessions or something else I saw. I think that in Rome, there is a concept about branding or some customization for virtual agent.
Oh, I have to check on that.
That was,
Or was it in?
it's like a CSM feature where you can, I don't know of a better term than this, but you can pimp out the virtual agent to other people's websites.
Okay, is that because
It's not the best term.
yeah, some question that I got some time ago was like, let's imagine that you are in a large company that have different departments,
right,
or business units. Let's say one business unit is here in US, another one is back in Latin America, Europe, etc. Right? So they want to have different flavor of the virtual agent. So in US it's called John, in Latin America it's called Jose, in Europe it's called some French fancy name, etc. So as I understand, yeah. So as far as I understand, it's just one single virtual agent, one single configuration, and you define the name for one single entity. You cannot do that dynamically based on any criteria. Is that true?
I don't know.
Yeah,
You're way ahead of me on VA at this point.
I know you can brand the virtual agent, but I don't remember if you can brand it in different portals.
Yeah, like use different icons.
Yeah.
I think it's one single configuration, and I have been playing with that. But I saw one presentation saying virtual agent cost. No, it was saying branding and customization. I was like, maybe that's coming, but I don't know.
If you find out, that's the kind of thing I would love to get more out of these meetups. Is if you find out, put it back on our meetup page.
Yeah.
Let's try to remember to follow up on that and keep in touch. I love seeing how you guys once every 6 months, but now it's been 28 months or something.
Yeah.
But I'd love to hear what you find out on that.
Yeah, I would.
I think we're supposed to be done at 8:30, so this is the part where we have our.
AP's gonna come in here and kick us all out.
Yeah.
The airport closes at 8:30.
All the lights turn, have you not been here? All lights turn off.
Runway's still dark.
They turn the runway lights off. We're trying to save electricity, it's-
Bill's just been way too high. lately.
Yeah, turn off the AC first.
Mhm. Then the escalators, then the elevators.
Yeah.
I did fly out of the airport on Microsoft Flight Simulator this week and flew. Yeah, it's in the.
Was it still the best airport?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, this game's gonna be so cool, and I'm flying across in the game, and I'm like, this is just like real life, it's gonna take me 2 hours to fly somewhere in the game. Yeah.
Hey, Michael,
And then I
you
put my
want
plane
to
in.
say goodbye to
Oh,
the
All right, well,
We have like an
So, no.
updated service now.
Probably.
thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
It's called an employee bag. Yeah.
Very nice.